Hello and welcome, I am Arumba, thank you for joining me. Let's do another Arumba's Assay series. This is going to be a little bit longer, I think. I'm not going to do a single one-off episode on this because this is going to take more than just, 15 to 20 minutes to actually stabilize. So this came from a gentleman whose name is Nexalacer? Nexalacer? And he says, I would describe myself as an intermediate player that could be better without the myriad of mistakes that he makes. He has 1,800 hours in the game, filthy casual, but he's never completed a world conquest. Started off as the Great Horde to get the Great Khan and Gold Rush achievements, managed Gold Rush, but had a hard time pushing to get it, leading to a quick bankruptcy. It's now 1661, thought he was on his way to his first world conquest, but he's reached a point where he doesn't know how to stabilize. He had his third and fourth bankruptcies sometime between then and 1657, after which Vijayanagar and the Ottomans attacked. He knew bankruptcy was looming, but something caused it to fire early, couldn't attack Vijayanagar when the truce ended, as he had planned. Now manpower is 0, he's already taken 4 loans while bankrupt, he's on the verge of losing Indian land to rebels, and is afraid of the next bankruptcy leading to complete collapse. He thinks that the campaign is no longer salvageable. Constantly struggled with manpower and economy throughout the game, and needs help stabilizing. Wants to know if what I can do with it. He says, "I know that you were looking for pretty great power games, but I think this is a interesting challenge. Combination of horde, terrible economy management, etc. General sense of crisis." All right, so yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play this for a while until I feel like it's good. So, with that being said, I have my list. My standard list, and we're going to take our time and go through it, and then we are going to, like I said, we're going to play for a while, but first thing I like to do maybe is just, let's just quickly watch the timeline. So he started off as the Great Horde. Let's just sort of watch it on speed fast and just see what he did. It'd be great if you could actually see like the player controlled territory map mode, because I can't tell if any of the nearby countries are vassalized at this point. But, so 1484, so that's like 40 years in, and that's a pretty good-sized Great Horde. He's working down into the Persia node. He's kind of forcing Muscovy to migrate into Novgorod. I don't know at this point. Oh, Poland. Poland, you are inside the HRE there. How'd you do that? Looks like Austria got the Burgundian inheritance. Can't tell if Castile got the Iberian wedding or not. Those borders look normal. England kicking Scotland's butt. Ottomans working up really fast up into parts of Bosnia, and I think that's parts of Serbia. That's the Kosovo gold mine, yeah. So he's taken a little bit of both. Killed Wallachia. Okay. Ming probably just sat around doing absolutely nothing the whole game. Let's give it another 40 or 50 years and see where things are at. Then he becomes the Golden Horde. I think at this point he's probably a vassal. Some of these, Smolensk, Kiev growing like that makes me think that was a vassal. Novgorod, I know he has Novgorod as a subject now, so that's probably already his vassal. Smolensk and Kiev are both vassals. I think does he integrate Kiev? I don't know. Okay, we're only about 100 years away. Wow, 100 years. Okay. There's Smolensk. That's a vassal. Novgorod. He sat on Novgorod forever, man. Wow. Ottomans are right up against the HRE. Hungary is gone. Transylvania exists. Great Britain has been formed. Prussia exists. Riga! Look at that, Riga! Wow. That is a big Riga. At this point, we can see he's well into India. Oirat got big. Oirat killed some of the people over there. Never integrated Mongolia, interestingly. Okay. Alright, and 10 years to go, and let's see how things are actually looking. So, that's the situation we're in. We got 7 out of 7 relations. We got Novgorod as a vassal. We have Multan is a vassal. Okay. We have lots of rebels. We'll get to that in a second. We've got Novgorod as a vassal. We've got Kazakh as a vassal. We've got Daiviet, interestingly, as a vassal, right next to Ming. Okay. And then we've got a bunch of tributaries. Lithuania is a tributary. Okay. Galicia Volhynia is a tributary. Dawasir is a tributary. Kaifa somehow managed to survive this entire campaign and is a tributary. Well, maybe not the entire campaign. Maybe it was released. I'm not sure. Akyunlu is also a tributary, as is Jumla. Okay. All right. So that's just a quick like rundown of the actual map. I really feel like they should make a disambiguation between vassal coloration and tributaries. Tributaries should not be the same color as vassals, I think. That's just my opinion. But all right, let's go through our list. So first things first. Tech. Nothing really important about tech. Age bonuses. Absolutism is not currently maxed. That is a very high priority. I understand we've got bankruptcy and we've got a lot of other issues, but as soon as absolutism becomes available, this is like top tier priority. So we're going to be working on this really soon. As far as economy goes, trade is awful. There's just tremendous amounts of untapped potential here. Let's go through the trade situation. We've got collection in Gujarat, Persia, and Crimea. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 merchants. So we've got Gujarat. We are collecting here at 13% with a 57% not collecting in main trade city penalty. I don't really understand why we're doing this. We also collect in Persia, which is where we make the most, 12.46 ducats. And that's probably just because Persia is one of the more valuable nodes, I imagine. Persia only has 24 ducats. Like, it's just not even that much. Trade is so low right now. And then our primary node, our home node, is Crimea, where we're auto-collecting. But because we're collecting in other nodes, we get no transfer bonuses, even though we could have a 60% trade power multiplier from having 6 merchants transferring. So we're going to get to this when we actually start playing, which will probably happen maybe, possibly in this episode. Might be the next episode, who knows. But I was leaning toward two options. Either we could try to force Novgorod to be our primary node and force everything from India away from the Ottomans, forcing it north through Samarkand, Astrakhan, Kazan into Novgorod, or we could try to make Persia our primary node. But I think that probably Novgorod makes more sense, just considering the lay of our overall country, and the fact that we can transfer trade power from our vassals. I think Novgorod needs to be the target node. I would have moved the main trade port to Novgorod a long time ago. So trade is no offense, sir, trade is abysmally bad. This is a huge part of your problem. You just need to get a little bit better at this part if you want to have a good economy. Okay, advisors. We are currently bankrupt, so that immediately says to me, don't run advisors. The effects of bankruptcy are interest per annum +5, morale of armies -50, sailor recovery, manpower recovery, morale of navies, blah blah blah. Advisors are 50% more expensive. Tech is more expensive. Reinforcements down. No global settlers, basically. Ideas are expensive. Autonomy goes up. Institution spread goes down, and absolutism is forced down. That's actually probably part of the reason why his absolutism is not maxed out, I can imagine. So I would just immediately fire all of these advisors. I would not run advisors while you are bankrupt. Even if they have discipline, I just don't run them. They're too expensive. Before we get too far, I did take a snapshot of his overall economy, and we'll probably compare, at the end of every episode, if I remember, we'll compare the current situation to where he started, just to see how things are progressing. Let's just disable that alert so we don't get distracted by it, and try to go higher more. As far as buildings, well, generally fix the economy first and then invest and then build more. But something very important to note about bankruptcy is that a while back they changed it so that bankruptcy deletes all trade company investments. All of them, not just the ones you built in the last 5 years, but all of them. So these are some amazing quote-unquote buildings. We're going to want to build them, but we need to stabilize the economy to the point where we're no longer in danger of potentially going bankrupt before we even consider doing these investments, because losing them is just catastrophic. So while they can provide the best return on investment as far as ducats per income, if there's any chance you could lose them, I wouldn't do it. So that's also something to consider. I don't know if he knew or even if he had done these investments, but we need to take advantage of them. You know, in particular, things like, say, in the gold mine of, where's that gold mine? In Mewar. In this capital, in this trade company state, we have only 20 development here, but we could build the Brokers Exchange, which increases local goods produced by 0.3. I mean, 0.3 extra goods produced for gold is going to provide a fair bit of extra monthly income. So, something to consider. Prosperity. What prosperity? We have absolutely no prosperous states. If we go to the ledger and we look at states and territories, we have not one state that is prosperous. Now, I have a hunch that what happened is his stability went negative, which, as long as you have negative stab, you lose 2 prosperity per province or per state every month. But the other issue is that despite having lots of forts, many of which are currently mothballed due to the expenses and generally awful economy, we have lots of little, like, bits of devastation. Just, like, little bits here and there everywhere. Probably due to, I don't know, rebels or maybe the previous wars. The fact that he's got revanchism makes me think that he did lose land in a previous war. Currently have 47% revanchism. So, that's interesting. But, like, specifically on the topic of the devastation, like, I'm a little confused by this. We have 32 fortresses, or 32 forts. But the way they're built and, like, where they're built, there's obvious, like, gaps in territory where the devastation is just going to stick around forever and we're never going to get prosperity. And the thing you need to understand about prosperity is that it is amazing. Monthly local autonomy 0.05, dev cost reduction, and then local goods produced multiplier 25%. So 25% goods produced means you make 25% more trade value, and 25% more trade value increases your trade income from all of the land that you have that's prosperous, and it also increases the production income. It's like 30 to 50% potential more income from trade, and well, not 30 to 50%. It's obviously 25, but how do I explain this? If you go from, let's say you have like 1 production income and 1 trade income, and you gain 25% on your goods produced, you're gonna end up making, let's just say, more than you would expect. It's very significant. We need prosperity, and I think that's a big part of the reason why we have a bad economy. All right, missing out on huge amounts of untapped income potential. Why pay for forts if not to maintain prosperity? Probably lost it due to negative stab. Got it. Pockets of devastation. Okay. All right, debt/bankruptcy. This is a situation to strongly consider debasing currency, as it will allow us to reduce unrest and pay off debt that currently has 8% interest. So something to be aware of is that loans are, by default, 4% interest. We have a couple of policies and like modifiers and stuff. We've got bookkeeping and revanchism reducing interest by about 0.97. However, bankruptcy increases interest by 5, and Paradox does this weird thing with interest and loans in this game where the interest that you pay is based on the instantaneous interest rate you're seeing. There is no, aside from like some weird Indian estates that have fixed interest, every single loan in this game is dynamic. So if you take out a loan at 4% and then you go bankrupt, then that loan is now going to be charging you 9% interest. So we're paying 8% interest on all of our loans. Another thing that can affect interest rate is being on negative stab. It's an extra 2% interest per negative stab. So never, ever, ever pay off loans, if you can avoid it, while bankrupt or while on negative stab, because you repay all of the interest, even though the interest rate will go down in the future. So we don't want to pay these loans off yet. We would prefer to pay them off as soon as the bankruptcy is over, which is in, looks like February 1st, 1662. So we've got to survive like, what, 6 months into the second month. Yeah, so 8 months. All right, so just something to consider. Now, specifically on the topic of corruption and debasing currency, when you debase currency, you get money equal to 1 loan. It's very tempting to just debase currency, pay off a loan. But again, we want to wait till the bankruptcy is over to reduce the interest rate. So the reason we're going to debase currency, though, is because, I think very few people know this. I don't really care about the absolutism in this case, but did you know that corruption reduces unrest? To corruption, this level of corruption gives the following effects. National unrest 0.4. It does have some all-power costs and autonomy penalties, but if we debase currency 5 times right now to stabilize the economy and go all the way up to 10 corruption, which seems crazy, I know, let's not even bother rooting it out, that corruption is going to reduce national unrest by 2. Before I did that, we had lots and lots and lots of rebels that were at 7 unrest, which is a really, really annoying number because it's too much to be suppressed by an army, but not enough that you can you can't like stop a rebellion basically. But now that we have that extra -2 from the corruption effect and the money from the corruption, we're going to be able to prevent most of these other rebellions from happening. All right, I want to get through my whole list of like notes before we start playing. So let me just try to blast through these in the next couple of minutes. All right, army, too much artillery for this economy. We have 52 artillery. Just trust me on this math. I did it and I wrote it down. 52 artillery at 0.83 ducats is 43.16 ducats a month in artillery maintenance. That's 48% of our gross income. 48% of our economy is tied up in artillery. That is too much. It is 70% of our military overall expenses. 70% of our army is being spent on artillery. You, sir, are a madman. This is too much. Artillery are a luxury. We're not so far in the game that you can do artillery-only Smolensk or some nonsense. We need to get rid of almost all of these at some point if we want to get this economy fixed. As far as state edicts goes, I think that you just maybe forgot about some of these. You got a missionary edict over here. We can turn that off, save a little bit of cash. Development edict here. We can turn that off, save some cash. And then this one I actually specifically wanted to talk about. This is the capital state. And in the past, I have said you should pretty much always run trade power in your capital state. Well, I want to clarify that. You don't have any estuary in the capital state. So there's like no real argument for running trade power in the capital state. But more importantly, you don't collect trade here. And 100% of trade power pulls trade forward. We don't care about trade power propagation into one node upstream because we're not even steering there. So there's just literally no reason to run this. Even if it's at a discounted price because of the capital state discount, there's just don't pay for that. That's a mistake. All right. Development-wise, the only thing I want to comment on that is that we've got 2 gold mines, and they are both very underdeveloped. We've got Bashgird, which has only 5 base production, so we're not making a lot of money there. Plus, the autonomy is at 28%. It has had a recent uprising. It's not controlled by the tribes, which is good. I am going to just lower autonomy here right now. We want that gold income. And then the other gold mine is down here in Mewar. It is in a trade company, which is totally fine, but it's only got 2 development. I would highly recommend at some point building one of these things where increases development. There we go. Entire Mewar area. Local development cost minus 15. After we build foreign influence building, the Golden Horde district, then we will want to probably develop that gold mine. They are high priority to upgrade. Okay, estates. I'm going to talk about that one last, because I think that's the biggest thing to talk about. Missions, there's only one that's worth talking about, which is Ruin Ruthenia. There's only a single province that we need, but this guy is currently a tributary. I would highly consider breaking tributary status just so we can conquer Podolia. And then we could turn that mission in and get 100 admin, 100 mil, 25 prestige. Something to look for in the future. Military, armies at full maintenance while at peace should always be either doing one of the following, either suppressing area-based rebels or drilling. Even like if you're desperate for economy and like you're like really struggling, I go so far as before every monthly tick, if I'm trying to move my army from one location to another, I'll move it as far as it can go in that month, and then I'll put it back to suppression. Because when you put them on auto suppress, they get 5 times as much rebel suppression strength as just an army standing in a province by itself. So this army, it's currently like traveling through land that has no unrest. Every monthly tick, we could project 28.5 times, let's see, each regiment can reduce unrest. I forget the math off the top of my head. It used to be 20 regiments to reduce 5 unrest. So that would be 20 divided by 5, right? No, 5 divided by 20. 0.25 unrest per regiment. That gets multiplied by 5 when you do area-based suppression because of reasons. So 1.25 unrest times 28.5 regiments, we could be suppressing 35.6 unrest in India with this army by using area-based rebel suppression. And there's no reason not to do it. We've got these rebels. We don't actually want the army to march down there and try to like fight the rebels, but we might as well project its suppression capabilities down into this land. So it's something we need to take advantage of. There's just no reason. If you're at full maintenance, the army needs to be doing something. All right, last thing to talk about then is probably the most controversial. And I have roughly like a minute left until the first episode is roughly at 20 minutes. So let's try to make this quick. We're still a horde. We started as a horde. A lot of people probably want to stay a horde. I don't think we should stay a horde. The problem is this. If this weren't true, I would say we should be a horde. Because we're a horde, let's be a horde. But somehow this player has granted 81.8% of total state development to the tribes. Like, pretty much every province in his whole country is owned by the tribes. And despite that, they're mad. Despite that, we have recent uprising in like every province in the whole damn country. So the easiest way to fix this problem is to abandon the government type. If we switch to any other government type, we will no longer have access to the tribes. The tribes will instantaneously lose all of their territory, purging them from our country and allowing us to lower autonomy below 50%. Tribes, unlike most estates, restrict your autonomy floor to 50%, while, say, nobles, clergy, burghers, they have a floor of 25. So tribes are far worse. They're basically like crappy nobles. The effect of tribes is removes autonomy penalty for manpower and force limit, just like the nobles, but nobles can go to 25% autonomy. So they're crappy nobles, and they're pissed. And when they're pissed, they increase unrest in every province by 5 that they own, which is basically our whole country. So let me know what your thoughts are. I'm going to play, and I'm going to probably switch government, but I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. Maybe we can even create a poll on this. I think this is an ideal situation, and I would recommend not staying a horde. So, with that being said, I'm going to just real quick pull up the screenshot of the income, since I want to get into a habit of doing that. Oh, hi, by the way, I have my webcam on. Hi. So just a couple changes. We're only losing 51.87 down from 64, mostly due to firing the advisors and toggling some estates and stuff. So with that being said, hi again, and I'll be back in the next episode where we'll start playing. Let me know what your thoughts are down below on the whole concept of abandoning being a horde. I'll see you soon. Cheers.